You can't call it. Minister, I gather the higher education cost the state around $2 billion last year. To quote American Senator Dirksen, $1 billion here, $1 billion there, and pretty soon you're talking real money. At a cool $2 billion, the sector costs real money and requires real, meaningful oversight and thoughtful strategy. I appreciate that appointing a full minister to the sector is a form of recognition that something needs to be done about higher education. Regarding funding, Minister, it is very hard to figure out where the $2 billion actually goes. The raw data, the dashboard that shows the flow of the money into the 7 universities, however many institutes of technology and TUs there are, and the various colleges, that dashboard does not exist. Between all the agencies that fund higher education, all their various funding schemes, taxpayers, I believe, cannot see where the money is going. The annual accounts are usually late. The HEA looks like it is actively trying to hide how much the system costs. With respect to accountability, attempts to make the sector more accountable appear to be an absolute miss. The last government backed off from its legislative attempts to make the universities more accountable, to give us real oversight powers. The cheek of the sector to fund an elaborate marketing campaign to save their spark, getting lavish and unquestioning coverage for their funding crisis, telling everyone that will listen that the sector is a financial time bomb, and then coming cap in hand to government for further support. The only time bomb I can see is the runaway expenditure in the university sector, with no effective oversight, Minister. I see the massive unchecked borrowing in our universities. The Department hardly knows the full scale of the liabilities in the supposed independent university sector. It looks like the dozy professors have borrowings of close to $1 billion sitting on their balance sheets, and we, the taxpayers, despite promises, are on the hook for it. A lot of that runaway borrowing is on exotic property deals, student apartments, universities often mixing it up with commercial developers. I would love to know the financial arrangements of UCD's operation in China. Our lecturers getting top-up salaries for doing their job. One might ask who actually owns the RCSI, another pertinent question. The IMI deal done by UCC, aside from the context of Brexit, appears fishy to me. How much do some of these buildings cost per square metre? Because they look like they would make Ceausescu blush. Presumably, Minister, all of this is above board. Presumably, there is nothing to see here. But a lot of this activity falls outside the Comptroller and Auditor General's responsibilities. There is no public reporting, and to be honest, the annual reports gloss over the detail of this stuff. What I can see is inappropriate expenditure by our universities on palatial housing for their presidents, lavish entertainment, rumours of wine cellars, butlers, chefs and waiting staff. I also see huge sums spent without adhering to national and EU rules on procurement, governance failures, deficits, accounting issues, legal bills, vast cost overruns on capital projects, Minister. The accountability over funding in this sector is a mess. There is no economic evaluation or value for money analysis. I'm wondering sometimes, is there even a strategy? We had the Hunt report in 2011, the Castles report in 2016. We are awaiting the work of the European Commission. Meanwhile, the money going into the sector is rising apace. The entire sector looks to be adrift without a plan. It has to be said that that situation probably suits some, particularly our unchecked, bloated and bloviated universities. We need high-quality data on expenditure from your department, Minister. We need good comparison work on the performance of the funded institutions. We need economic valuation of the funding. And we need government to produce a credible vision for this sector as it gobbles $2 billion per year, largely unchecked and unbothered by oversight. So if I may ask you 2 questions, please, Minister. In respect of the South East region, the undergraduate platform costs approximately €125 million per year. At that, we suffer a significant brain drain from the region. Assuming we move to a South East university model, the per capita spend should be €223 million, almost €100 million per annum increase. Will you, Minister, guarantee this additional €100 million per annum annual spend will be delivered to a South East university to deliver some educational equality for the region? And secondly, Minister, can I ask you, in order to deliver on such educational equality to the South East? What plans or governance oversight are you considering to properly regulate the university sector?
Thank you, Deputy Shanahan. Minister.
I want to thank Deputy Shanahan for his questions, and I also want to acknowledge we were due to have an engagement this week that I had to cancel for personal reasons. I'm looking forward to having that engagement next week. But I want to thank him very much for his questions, and whilst I wouldn't necessarily agree with all of the language that he used to set out his position, I do take the point that he makes very strongly about the need for better governance structures. So to take question 2 first, we need to overhaul governance, and if you want my department to be able to do that, you need to give us the legislative teeth that we require. So it is my intention to bring the heads of bill to Cabinet on a new governance bill for the higher education sector in March. It's my intention that that would then go to the Oireachtas Education Committee for pre-legislative scrutiny, and subject to it doing its work, I'd like to get that piece of legislation passed by both houses of the Oireachtas this year. So in the legislative programme we published this week, that is a key piece of legislation for pre-legislative scrutiny in this session, and I'd really look forward to working with the Deputy to briefing him, both as someone who has an interest in higher education and also as a member of the Public Accounts Committee. The governance structures just quite simply aren't fit for purpose. We need to look at really moving to competency-based governing authorities, and we also need to look at the HEA, which I think does very good work, but we need to look at it having the teeth that it needs. The Minister of the day, whoever he or she is, needs to have the levers to pull so that this House can oversee the investments. The extra investment in higher education, I think, has massively benefited many people. I think it's helped transform our country. But with extra investment does have to come reform, and does have to come a greater expectation around transparency, and also an alignment with national policies and national goals. In relation to the South East region, and as you know, I really do want to deliver a technological university for the South East, the only part of our country not to have a university. WIT is doing incredible work, I fully acknowledge that. And I will also, at this stage, I will say that with an investment in the university will have to come an actual increase in budget and extra funding for the region. I'm expecting an application to come in from the TUSE consortium in the month of April, they tell me. I still very much would like to see the new university being designated to commence on the 1st of January of next year. And I think you would tell me on a regular basis there's a lot of work to do to make sure that happens, including the people of Waterford and indeed the people of other parts of the South East seeing the additionality that this university will bring. So rather than anybody saying, well, what will this county get or what will that county get, that actually the city of Waterford and the county of Waterford will see additional benefit in terms of investment, in terms of campus size, in terms of course range, in terms of research. And I'm very eager and very determined that will happen. If it's to be a university of the worth that we all want it to be, that's very much the case. And I look forward to engaging with you and some of your colleagues and some people you've introduced me from, from the South East in the coming days.